Welcome to another edition of the Taylor Newsbreak. I'm Carl Zymak, your host, and today we're going to discuss the Goodwill Garden at Heritage Park. Our guests are Chief Judge Victoria Shackelford of the 23rd District Court and Stephanie McNeese, Executive Director of the Downriver Fish and Loaves Community Food Pantry. Thousands of pounds of vegetables have been tended and harvested by court-ordered community service workers in Goodwill Garden. Most of the harvested fruit and veggies have been donated to the Downriver Fish and Loaves Community Pantry, along with other local food banks. Welcome, ladies.
Hi. Thank you for having us.
And it's great to see you after the holidays.
Nice to see you.
I'm sure you were very, very busy during your holidays.
Yes, very busy.
Was it busy at the court?
The court slows down a little bit, but
Okay. All righty.
it's picked back up.
And does anything ever slow down at the Fish and Loaves?
And especially not during the holidays.
That's
so.
for sure. Yeah, no doubt about that. Judge, I'm going to start with you. You seem really to enjoy this particular program, this Goodwill Garden program. Give us a little history of the Goodwill Garden.
So this is interesting. I actually called Judge Nasita and had a conversation with him. The sign at the Goodwill Garden says it was founded in 2002, and it lists Judge Nasita, and I had always thought it was Judge Salamone. So I talked to Judge Nasita, and he told me in the 80s, the courthouse was at Syracuse and Goddard. And he was trying to come up with creative ways to sanction people short of jail, nonviolent offenders. So he got a rototiller and rototilled the back of the building, or the back, plot. And he actually had a community garden back in the 80s, and that went on until the court moved into the media center before moving into the new building.
Boy, that's an interesting one. You got to go back to Judge Nasita to find out these things a lot of times.
You do. He is like he's like a history book. He can tell you everything about the city.
Because I know my original lead-in had since 2002. Our website has since 2002. Everything has since 2002. But you got to go back and talk to Tony, and he'll put you straight and bring you into the 80s.
Yeah. So now we know it was actually there 20 years before we all thought it was, but it wasn't called the Goodwill Garden at that time. And then when the courthouse opened, that's when Judge Salamone worked with the city, and I know some other people were involved to actually start the Goodwill Garden that's attached to Heritage Park and the conservatory. So
Gino, otherwise known as Green Thumb Gino.
Yeah, there you go.
He is into produce. Farmers market, Goodwill Gardens, things like that. That is Gino Salamone.
Yeah.
No doubt about that.
And I asked Judge Nasita, and I know Judge Salamone, because I'd previously worked in the garden with him when I took over. And both of them were hands-on, and both of them, worked out there with the participants that were in the program. So I think that's very nice.
Before we move on to talk specifically more about the garden, Stephanie, for those people who are maybe watching or listening to this and don't really know about the Fish and Loaves, can you give us the nickel tour of the Fish and Loaves?
Absolutely. Fish and Loaves is a client choice food pantry, which means we're set up like a grocery store. And so we have things that maybe some typical food pantries might not have, like dairy, frozen meat, fresh produce every day. So somebody who's on hard times or facing food insecurity can come to the pantry and shop, pick out the items that they'd like for themselves, and visit us. We are an emergency pantry, so every other month. Last year we distributed 2.8 million pounds of food. So it's a big venture, but we serve the entire Downriver region and a little bit beyond through some other programs we do. So it's a big job.
No doubt about that. You're relatively new with Fish and Loaves. Looking at the overall picture, how were you introduced to the garden part of the program?
Yeah, actually, the judge called me early this year. We got together, and then this summer I got to go out and actually visit the garden during an actual harvest and see, everyone put to work and the garden at its fullest. I think it was during the Junior League World Series that we were out there.
The World Series are introducing teams, and we're out there.
So it was a great time to be out in the garden.
Exactly. How big of a benefit is it to Fish and Loaves when it comes right down to it?
Yeah, it's huge. So I said that we have fresh produce all the time, but there's just something special about having homegrown garden vegetables. Clients are excited for it. They get ready for it. Gardening takes a lot of time and a lot of money sometimes. And so somebody who is facing a challenge or an emergency might not have that time or those extra resources to garden for themselves. So to have something like that at a food pantry is just not typical. Yeah.
Let me test you. What's actually grown at the gardens these days?
Oh, I can do this, Carl. I love
Oh,
working
you
out in the
got this,
garden. Tomatoes, peppers, squash, zucchini, a lot of zucchini this year, chives, herbs, you name it, we're growing it.
Now, you touched on this a little bit when you talked about Tony Nacita, and your predecessor, Gino Salamone, had viewed the garden as almost an educational tool in the criminal justice system. Can you elaborate on that? Do you look at it the same way?
I do. We need to come up with alternatives to incarceration, especially when we're talking about a nonviolent population. And Carl, we've talked previously about this. My treatment court, at the court, we have a regional treatment court program. We have 70 people that are close to that have substance use disorder. And they're nonviolent offenders. And there's something nice about offering community service with dignity. And it's a skill. And I think a lot of us have lost our connection to where our food comes from. And it's such a long process and so much goes into it. And I think there's a certain appreciation that comes along with gardening. And they get to give back to the community. So they're not just there to plant and to water, they actually get to reap the harvest and hand deliver it, to the food pantries. So I think there's something really important about that, and it's a good community based project.
Stephanie, when customers are looking for produce at Fish and Loaves, do they have favorite veggies or fruits? Do some things go quicker than others?
Yeah, we are seasonal produce as well, right? We go with what's being grown. Garden veggies take the cake, honestly. Everyone gets so excited. They don't last long at all when they're there. I think that's got to be the favorite.
How much produce out of the garden actually gets carted over to Fish and Loaves, and what is the harvesting schedule and things like that?
Yeah.
I think we did 1,500 pounds or close to 1,500 pounds of produce this
That's
year.
amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the harvesting schedule just depends on weather, time, people, who they have at the garden, whether it's weekly or every other week.
Yeah.
Right.
But yeah, anywhere from 1,500 to 2,000 pounds.
Can the general public get involved with the garden?
They can.
Okay.
I do gardening with the judge days, and anyone's who wants to volunteer is free to come. But we also have, so the garden, half of the garden is actually plots that are for rent, and they don't generally go up for rent until March or April of the year. And then the remainder of it is the actual community garden. So if someone lives in an apartment or a condo and they want to touch the dirt, they can rent a plot. They're very affordable. So
Now, are you a gardener at home?
I love doing flowers.
Okay.
I'm learning a lot, and we're fortunate to have really great people that work at the garden that are master gardeners. So I've spent a lot of time learning how little I know about gardening is really how it generally works. So, but I do enjoy it.
Without naming names, naturally, is there any real success stories that you look at this person who maybe got involved through the court process and ended up at the garden, and now you've got a whole different look at that person, or that person's changed markedly or whatever?
Most of the people in my treatment court, when they get out there and they actually start doing it, and they're shoulder to shoulder with me and probation officers, and we all, it's a good reminder that we're all humans and people make mistakes, and yes, and I'd say I'd see it every time I go out there.
Did you expect to be involved in something like the Goodwill Garden when you were appointed here to?
No, I knew about the Goodwill Garden.
Okay.
I had walked through it. I mean, it's a beautiful space. I love the park. But once I really had a chance to discover it, it really is one of my favorite parts of the job, connecting with people in the community, doing the good community work, and really working, shoulder to shoulder with all of the people that are in my treatment court program, and building that relationship with them. It's good for them. It's good for their recovery,
And it is, I have to admit, it's significantly different than throwing on a green vest and picking up trash along the roadways and stuff like that. This is a little bit more rewarding.
And it's dignified.
Yeah,
too.
it is.
We offer community service through the court at Fish and Loaves as well, and giving people like a safe place, sometimes a private place to give back, but also directly back to their own community. The garden is going to feed people, their neighbors, people in their town. So,
Stephanie, let's switch gears to you for a second. Are you a gardener at home?
Flowers,
Okay.
definitely herbs, and
Okay.
I don't have a garden yet to put anything else in there, but
Okay.
I do.
But you enjoy that
I
type of
do.
thing?
I really
Well,
do.
that's kind of cool. Fish and Loaves, being a 501c3, is always looking for donations,
Yeah.
donors, sponsors, new type of programs. How does the general public get involved in your facility?
Yeah, there's a couple of ways. Monetary donations, whether you want to sponsor an event or you just want to give money monthly, you can send us a check, or you can donate right online, right at our website. If you want to donate food or organize a food drive, again, that information's on our website, or you can just drop it off at any time during our open hours.
Gotcha.
It doesn't have to be something formal. If you and your family or neighbors want to just collect some food, you can drop it off anytime we're open.
And I know this might test you a little bit, but what are your regular hours at Fish
Oh,
and Loaves?
yes. So Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Friday. The only
Okay.
day during the week we're closed is Thursday.
Okay.
And typically 9 to 3. Mondays we go later into the evening.
And Thursday, you guys are probably reloading everything.
Yes,
I would
getting ready
think.
for everything else again.
No,
yeah.
no doubt about that. Judge Shackelford, what are you going to bring? Are you going to expand on this program at all? Is there anything? I know you are one of those people who look at the schedule and see things like, why aren't we doing Law Day? And then all of a sudden, Law Day turns out to be a magnificent day at the court.
It's a great day.
Okay, really a great day. When you look at this program, are you seeing things that, hey, I'd like to do this or that?
Yes. I'm always trying to fill space that I don't have, and I don't know. Sometimes I have to, yes, I see a lot of potential in the garden, but I also have to recognize, I've got kids, I've got a family, I have the court. So I'm trying to take baby steps and prioritize. It's running, it's doing well. We've made it through 2 summers
Right.
since Judge Salamone left, and we're still successful, and so I'm hoping in the future to possibly expand it, but for now I'm just happy that we're keeping it going and that things are going so well.
When you think of this program and all the time you've spent in the garden, I know when I was out there with Gerald Thomas shooting photographs and all that during the World Series, there were a lot of people there. Okay, a lot of people who weren't directly involved with the court administered program. You want to give any shout outs to people who really do a good job out there? Volunteers from your court?
Oh,
Court workers? That type of thing?
Patty Donahue and Matt LaFleur obviously are, wonderful. And probation department comes out and helps. I'm very fortunate. We have a lot of good hands on deck.
Patty's been around for such a long time, and she's always
Yeah.
been a big help to whatever she decides to get involved in, but she's always done that.
Yeah.
What about from your side? Do other than receiving it, do you ever have any volunteers go out that way, that kind of thing?
Yeah, some community service volunteers who are at the garden also will do hours at Fish and Loaves, so they're kind of seeing both ends, harvesting, planting, and then also the clients receiving it. We offer to pick up and we offer to go out as well, but pretty much it's just the volunteers that swap between the two.
Okay. And as far as Fish and Loaves go, is there anything that you're looking for really badly right now that you want to throw out there to the general public?
Food-wise, our two biggest needs at the time are soup and cereal.
Okay.
Both of which are one of the more expensive things for us to buy. So.
Right, exactly. And with high prices these days, nothing is ever easy. Does that have the economy have a direct effect?
Yeah, it
on
really
your
does.
donation?
So we are fortunate to be able to purchase our food through Gleaners, which is USDA and wholesale rates. But for an example, the beginning of 2023, our cost was about 45 to 50 cents per pound, and we ended the year around 65 to 70 cents per pound. So we still see that direct increase, and when you're doing almost 3 million pounds, that makes a difference.
That's for sure. What's the next big thing coming up at Fish and Loaves?
Oh,
Fish and
yeah.
Loaves
So we
Friday.
have a new fundraiser coming up in March. It's a reverse raffle. So you can find information about that on our website.
On the website?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
And then we have our annual Happy Souls 5K, which takes place
Right.
at Heritage Park in the beginning of June.
Which
first
is
weekend.
always heavily attended.
Yes,
You know,
yes.
That's a nice thing.
Always a beautiful morning. So.
And what's next? What's next for the court these days?
Well, you know, Carl, I'm going to feel bad all night tonight if I don't also give a shout out to Donna Havner.
Oh, okay.
So she has been working with Matt and Patty at the garden, and she's really been taking over and stepping up. And I will not sleep tonight if I don't also thank her for all of the hard work she does. We're gearing up at the court. Holidays are over. We've got Law Day coming up in a few months, so it's almost time to start getting our letters out and getting ready for that. That's the next big event we have coming up.
Fantastic. Well, that about ties this episode up, unless you two can think of anything we've missed. Have we missed anything?
I don't think so.
No?
No?
Okay, all righty. When do you guys start to attack the garden? Well, is there a date? Is there a
You know,
month?
we have a couple Saturdays in April. We
Okay.
generally have, it'll be a Saturday, will be the first day.
All right.
And we pick two just in case it's too rainy or too cold. And if so, we go on the next one. So mid-April, we start gearing up.
Well, sounds fantastic. Well, we'll be seeing you two ladies back out there this summer, that's for sure. That about ties this episode up. Thanks to Judge Shackelford, Stephanie McNeese for joining us on this edition of Taylor Newsbreak. It's been a great discussion. For Samantha Rickard and Joe Camilleri behind the scenes, I'm Carl Zymak. Have a good day, and don't forget to join us on the next Taylor Newsbreak.